Old-school bioterrorism. Many of us would think that bioterrorism was an invention of today's technology and science. However, that is not the case. Microorganisms have been used throughout history, dating back to the ancient Roman civilization, when soldiers would throw feces in the faces of their enemies, causing infection and disease. In the 14th century, the bubonic plague had started off being a way to evacuate people from their homes and thwart off enemies. However, those who didn't die in war spread the plague all over Europe. In 1984, the Rajneeshi bioterror attack in the U.S. was the first attack recorded and was an attempt to control the local election by contaminating food and public areas in order to incapacitate the citizens. Bioterrorism sounds deadly. So one would ask, what is bioterrorism? As defined by the CDC, bioterrorism is an attack that encompasses and deliberate release of viruses, bacteria, or other germs and agents used to cause illness or death in people, animals, or plants. In 1972, a group of college students wanted to wipe out the population and create a new population from a select few by using microorganisms. However, lucky for us, they weren't discovered and fled to Cuba. Also, there were cyanide attacks through encapsulated Tylenol, as well as the start of military anthrax in 1998. How is bioterrorism possible? Bioterrorism can be spread through air, food, or water sources, and because of this it is somewhat difficult to trace and thus a weapon of choice by many terrorists. Some agents can be contagious, meaning spread by people, and others not. Smallpox was contagious, while anthrax was not. Bioterrorism in parts. There are three main ways to define bioterrorism by the CDC. That's category A, B, and C, which will be explained in further detail next. A more serious is A, and B and C are followed. In category in A, it is highly contagious and accounts for high death rates and high health impact on the public. Examples are anthrax, botulism, and smallpox. Category B, these are moderately easily spread and account for some death rates. Examples are typhus and salmonella. In C, they are easily available, produced, and spread. They have potential for high health risks and death. An example of this is the Nipah virus, which is an emerging zoonotic virus. It has infected people and causes severe illnesses characterized by inflammation of the brain or encephalitis, or respiratory diseases. The Anthrax Scare 2001. This outbreak started through the U.S. Postal Service as a powder-like substance. Anthrax is from the microorganism Bacillus anthracis and is capable of producing spores that are readily inhaled. It is normally a disease of the herbivores, those that eat grasses, and can be transmitted to humans through their meats, problematic in countries where animals are not vaccinated. It can be spread through cutaneous, the gastrointestinal tract, or through inhalation. Threats of bioterrorism. Bioterrorism is a serious concern to human health, mainly because of its rapid action and untraceable nature. So, by the time we realize that bioterrorism has struck, it is almost too late to treat. In the case of anthrax, treatment would be immediate using antibiotics like ciprofloxacin. How to combat bioterrorism. Although we have improved technology and treatments, the biggest problem is the immediate diagnosis. The issues are case isolation, contact tracing, and quarantine of close contacts for outbreak control, as well as diagnosis. Oh, the irony. As it seems, antibiotics for this outbreak for Bacillus anthracis, as well as others, are made through other bacteria. Overwhelming majority of antibiotics were made from living organisms like bacteria, and about 90% of antibiotics are isolated from bacteria, fungi, and molds. Essentially, you fight bacteria with other bacteria. Without antibiotics and vaccines, we would have no protection against bioterrorism or outbreaks of disease. The future against bioterrorism. The issue remains, who is a threat and what do we do in case of an attack? As seen in this map, red indicates those that we know have capabilities of biological warfare, and those in yellow are known for defensive against these programs. A new paper describes a statistical method that can estimate the origin and time of an aerosolized release of anthrax following the detection of the first few cases. The method predicts where the most critically affected areas will be following the release of this highly pathogenic agent. Ring containment. Here shows a method in which we can try to contain an attack. A identifies the infected individuals. B is the vaccination of those in contact with the infected. And C is to vaccinate all the people in the surrounding areas. Project BioShield. It authorized spending of $5.6 billion over a span of 10 years in order to pay for vaccines and medical facilities in cases of emergencies. This was signed by President George W. Bush in 2004. It also gave the National Institute of Health the grants for further medical research and technology, and it established the Emergency Use Authorization, or EUA, and that gave access to best medical responses in case of emergencies as declared by the Secretary of Human Health Services or the Secretary of Homeland Security.